what I think about when I think about Eastern Shore living. I think this is probably why a lot of people want to come to the Eastern Shore, and I have a very important person to know if you're going to be moving down here to the waterfront. This is Mr. Jim Crook, owner of Eastern Pile Driving. He built this gorgeous pier that you see behind us and does a lot of fantastic work building bulkheads, riprap, making sure that your shoreline is in tip-top condition, that your pier is going to stay exactly as pristine and beautiful 30 years from now as it is today. So if you guys want to come with us, we're going to take a little walk down this pier, show you a little bit more, and talk about what Jim here does. All right. All right, so we are here on the platform of the pier that Jim has built out on this beautiful home in Deal Island. Jim, you want to tell us a little bit about the construction of the pier and the platform, things that consumers might need to keep in mind when installing one in their own property?
Absolutely, Kate. First of all, the pier typically, when we talk about a pier, there are two parts of it that we talk. One is the pier, which is typically 6 feet wide, and then of course the platform, which is not to exceed 200 square feet. And what I mean by that is it could be 10 feet long, 20 feet wide, or it can be 5 feet wide, 40 feet long, as long as it doesn't exceed the 40 feet or the 200 square feet in total.
Okay. Very good. Great to know. And now, how far in do these poles that you put in go into the mud underneath the water?
Great question. Great question. What we typically do is we find out what the height of the pier needed to be and how much the customer wants to be above how much pole they want above the pier. What we typically do, if we know that that pole from the mud line to the top is going to be 10 feet, then we know minimum that pole is going to be a 20-foot pole. So 50% of that pole is going to be in the mud versus out.
So why is it so important that much of the pole is actually under the mud?
Well, in this case, being out on the Tangier Sound, we know that Mother Nature can be brutal in the winter, and we have ice.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much for Mother Nature to lift this particular platform up. So what we try to do is when we're out here in this particular area, we try to think, let's make sure that we go a little bit beyond that 50%.
Okay.
Because we don't want that customer to call us back and tell us that one of their piers have raised because of ice.
Yeah.
So we try to go 50% or greater into the mud with our poles.
That's definitely something that's good to know, because I would hate to spend a lot of money putting in a pier and a platform and wake up one morning and see half of my platform raising up out of the water.
Absolutely.
But this beautiful piece of platform and pier obviously has to attach to something. So let's talk a little bit more about what's going on over here on the shoreline. You see all these rocks that are kind of leading up to like a wall.
Right.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what each of those components are, what they do?
Basically, Kate, you have the riprap, the rock that is along that wooden structure. And that wooden structure is considered the bulkhead.
Okay.
And there are three types of bulkheads that you can focus on. You can focus on a tongue and groove, which is wood. You can focus on vinyl, and you can also focus on steel. For residential, you typically worry or look at vinyl and of course the wood.
Okay. So like a steel bulkhead would probably be for more of a commercial business or something like that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then of course the object is to make sure that we put the rock out in front of those bulkheads, because as most people know, you have a high energy fetch that comes in open bodies of water that will then push water up against that blunt edge if that rock isn't there. If that rock is there, it will reduce the fetch, the energy of that wave, thus not allowing that impact to be slammed up against that bulkhead.
So that riprap is really helping to preserve your bulkhead.
Absolutely.
And that bulkhead, of course, is really helping to preserve your yard to make sure that that property that you bought stays in place.
Absolutely.
So these are some like seriously important things that you're going to want to put in if you're buying a waterfront property and want this kind of life out here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Is there anything else from you that we can get? What are some good like maintenance things that a homeowner should think about when putting a pier in?
Well, typically you want at least to be able to power wash your pier after you start seeing the brand new wood starting to discolor. So you power
Okay.
wash the pier, and then you get yourself some nice waterproof UV stain. If you want the natural wood, you want to go with just a clear. If you want to change that a little bit, then you go to something with a tint. But you look at something that has a 3 to 5 year waterproof UV protection.
Okay.
And we typically use a Olympic maximum material, and we roll it on and brush it on. Which then preserves it for 3 to 5 years, depending on how brutal Mother Nature can be.
Yeah. And we all know that we can get a few big storms around here.
Absolutely.
So definitely we want to make sure that as a homeowner, you are taking all the precautions necessary, making sure that those poles, that whoever's putting in those poles, whether it's Jim or someone else, are really driving them down in, making sure that you've treated the wood exactly the way it's supposed to be. And then you get to live this beautiful lifestyle, and the next thing you have to worry about is what boat is going to go on that beautiful lift over there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you so much for
Well,
joining
thank
me
you for
today,
the invitation.
Jim.
Thank
And
you.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to come back to besteasternShoreHomes.com. There will be a companion blog to this video with some more information. And if you have any suggestions about the next kind of video you'd like to see, more information about any real estate or community needs in the area, please feel free to reach out, give suggestions, and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.